Well, Jay Baba, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope you guys all enjoyed your holidays. I know I did. I was at the center, so it was quite crazy. I got to meet Diane and Terry in person. But so for tonight, this actually, Bob, you actually kind of mentioned this offhand at the end of a chat that was like after we stopped recording, and it was in my mind. We hadn't had a chance to really actually use it as a topic. And so just the topic of living wholeheartedly. And so does anybody want to read the email that I sent out is super short, but does anybody want to read it? I can call in somebody.
I will if you put it
looks
up.
like Bob's got his hand up.
Okay.
All right, let me screen share. Oh boy. All right. Okay, hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, all you, Bob.
Okay. Jay Baba all, and Happy New Year. I hope all of you enjoyed the holidays and are filled with the excitement of what Baba will bring you this year. I would love to discuss the concept of wholeheartedness this week. How do we do it? What does it truly mean? Baba tells us to do our best, but then leave the rest to him. How are we to know when we have fully poured our whole heart into something? What do you do when you just don't feel like doing something? Of course, the things we love to do come to us with ease and full enthusiasm. But how do we do the hard things Baba calls us to do? He is constantly pushing our limits through humiliation and exhaustion. How do you prevail through? What are practices you have created to show up with the most love? Is it a physical act or more of an internal shift? Hopefully, these questions inspired some thought on this topic. I can't wait to see where this goes and hear everything you all have to share. In his love, Margi. Okay.
Thank you. Okay. Well, so on the topic of wholeheartedness, does anybody want to venture out? Or just have anybody want to come with some wholehearted thoughts or feelings? Oh, all right, Bob. Oh, wait, you're muted. Here, let me see if
there I am. Okay.
There we go.
It's always been sort of a mystery to me because, I mean, being wholehearted has, for me anyway, deep feeling has something to do with it. And it's not something that I can just make happen. Maybe I'm way off the track with it, but without having some deep, heartfelt motivation to go along with whatever's going on, it just seems to be words. You know, I mean, does that make any sense? I just don't like the, I really like trying to repeat at night what Baba told somebody to do way back in the day. I don't even remember who Baba was addressing this to, but his message was, in the morning when you get up, think to yourself, Baba, I entrust all thoughts, words, and deeds to you. And when you go to bed at night, before you go to sleep, think to yourself, Baba, I entrust all that I did, thought, or spoke, good and bad, to you. Do that for just 5 minutes, but wholeheartedly. Well, so what is that? I've always been just a little mystified by it. As I said, for me, it has to involve something that's deeply felt, that really pierces into one deeply. But it's not something that I can make happen.
Yeah, no, I think that's the part of the conversation is, I understand what you're saying, where you do what Baba says, but it can feel unnatural. So where do we draw the line of naturalness? And then also remembering to, do the things that he asked of us. I think that's the challenge of the spiritual path. Okay, Paula.
Okay. I don't know anything, but this has been my experience as an artist. It's something I can't make happen. I agree with Bob. It's like every now and then, it's like when you're driving down the freeway and you can just sing your heart out to Baba. It comes from him. It doesn't come from me, and it doesn't happen all the time. It happens. It's like a gift, and it's a really sweet gift that he gives once in a while, not all the time. And then but what I can say is, what I would really like is to lose my mind. Because that's the culprit, and it creates a lot of resistance, because when I have been the most happy is when I have Baba music on and I'm drawing, or I'm painting and I'm painting him or drawing him. I don't always let myself do that. I resist it. I think it's almost like my ego says, no, you're going to disappear, which is actually what I would like. And actually that is what happens sometimes when I'm drawing and painting. There is no time, there is no anything. It's just the work, and it's Baba. And what comes out is always a surprise to me. It's never, it's just, he does it. And I know he does it. So that's why it's not something I can conjure up. And I don't really understand it. And I don't know anything about wholehearted. It's like, how do I do that, Baba? Do I just rip out my heart? Here it is. So I honestly don't understand it either. It's like, we just do our best. I don't say the prayers wholeheartedly because my mind is bazookas. Or maybe I do. Maybe my heart's actually doing it. My mind is just bazookas. I don't know.
Yeah. As you were saying that, I almost had this thought of kind of like, maybe our natural state is wholeheartedness. And this idea that we're not doing something wholeheartedly is really just the mind getting in there and sort of doing things backwards, because if we're tired and, we don't really feel like doing something, are we really not doing it wholeheartedly? Or is our mind just not doing it? Like, we're still going through the motions of doing it and remembering Baba. And if we're remembering Baba in something, are we doing it wholeheartedly? Because that's all he asks of us. And so maybe it's just the mind that's telling us that we're not, like, it's a lot easier than we think, because both of you guys have had very similar things that it's like, I just don't understand it. And maybe that's where the issue is, is trying to come through this from this, oh, I know that I'm wholehearted, like a stamp on your paper. When what you're saying, Paula, is when you lose yourself is really when you feel that wholeheartedness. And so maybe we're constantly living in this wholehearted state. We're just in the way of ourselves.
Yeah. Or I don't feel.
I like that.
One thing, yeah, I do too. One thing that helps me too, though, is that what we feel, what Mani said, what we feel doesn't really matter. What we think doesn't really matter. It's just, we are committed to Baba. But when I feel moments of the most relief is when I think about if I don't exist. It's really strange. It's like if I could just disappear.
Yeah.
And it feels like, oh, that would be so nice.
Yeah, it's nice when it comes in like and it's with a background of joy, because there's two different ways of experiencing that, like, oh, I wish I didn't exist, I hate myself. Or it's just that I'm done. I want to leave this clothing. I want to leave this. I got bigger fish to fry than just, Paula or Bob or Diane, Terry, Tony, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not a well, it's a suicidal thing, but not the way.
No, I understand. All right. Next we have.
I could be in trouble here.
Diane and Terry.
Jay, Baba, you all. So I had an experience just today that was a remarkable experience. We've hired someone. We moved into our house 30 years ago, and we've decided to get some new furniture. And it revealed that the floor needed to be redone. And the new furniture we're buying is off the floor. So it'll really reveal that the floor needs to be done. So it's getting done on Monday. And in order for it to be done, you need to take away all, do you know what tchotchkes are? It's like,
it's the little things.
It's things, a lot of things. And my mother left me things, and my grandparents left me. I got things everywhere. And today I was off work, and I knew I needed to start the project of clearing away everything so they could do the floors. I was so overwhelmed that I said to Diane, maybe you should call the floor man and cancel. She said, it's too late. We committed to this thing and it will work out, you'll see. And I sat there overwhelmed. And then all of a sudden I said, Baba, you got to figure this out with me. And when I do something difficult with him by my side, it turns into feeling good about it, is all I can say. And I do it at my office when I'm cleaning teeth, especially when it's a hard patient, either personality-wise or fear-wise, or just they don't take care of themselves that well. And, you know, Baba works with me. And I know it kind of sounds like lighthearted, because I certainly have those moments of despair quite often. But if I remember just to have him be with me, just be with me, I don't know, it just, that feeling just disappears from me. It's amazing.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, Jay Baba.
But I have a question about that. So when you have those moments that are really trying, and because I know for me, sometimes I call out to Baba and I'm like, all right, I say the same thing, Baba, you really got to help me here. And it feels like he holds out for just a little bit too long. How do you navigate that?
No, I sat on the floor in a yoga position and I waited. I did some, deep breathing really helps me release the stuff inside me that makes me anxious, whatever that chemical, the adrenaline or whatever it is. So I deep breathe and I don't know, it just, and then I start whatever project it is. And before I know it, I do it when I pack to travel. It's the same thing.
She must have said that she was going to sit down and rest and be done for the day. I'm not kidding, 5 or 6 times. The next thing I know, she was
up again doing more until pretty much like we're done. Wow. I should take the art off the walls and they're going to move the furniture out. But I don't know. I mean, I know I just left Myrtle Beach and because of it, I'm high. I'm just on another planet altogether. But I felt really back into the trenches when I was in the despair. So I know that I can still go there. So I don't know what it is. I think a lot of it is just trusting him. And the hardest stuff gets. And when you really know you're out of control, like you don't know how to fix it, just breathing in. And the other thing, I know these things sound so trite, but Diane and I are getting older and the stuff around the house that we could do before is getting more challenging. So there's a filter in the refrigerator that you have to pull out in exchange for a new one. So the water gets filtered when you use the water from the fridge. And you have to push it in. And I'm telling you, it's like ridiculous.
We can't do it.
We both tried everything we could think of. And then finally, Baba said, you'll just wait until your tenant gets back and he'll do it for you. He's a young, strong dude. And it was like, oh, I can let it go now. I don't have to worry about that red light.
Yeah.
And
so I know these are like trite little things, but you know, you have a lot of them during a day. And I just feel like he's there with me is all I can say. And that's what helps me get through life with joy.
A friend of mine asked yesterday if there was one word that we wanted to start the new year with. And she had told us this story last week because we were housing together about she was in kind of a not safe neighborhood and her car stopped working. And she lifted the hood and they tried to figure out what was going on. Neither of them knew enough about cars. And then a male figure came out of the woods, literally came out of the woods. And there was a moment that she I think, felt fear. And then he just had such a calmness about him. And he said, it's all in your connection. And she looked at him and he cleaned out, you know how around the battery, it can get corroded and kind of cruddy. And he cleaned it off and he said, now start the car. And she started the car. And so I was thinking before about how the mind gets in the way so much and the corrosion comes up so that you don't have a connection. And so I think wholeheartedly, I'm going to try and keep that corrosion off. Wish me luck.
I think that's a good thing to strive for. I think that's the highest thing you can strive for. Well, looks like we have Gail next.
Hey, Baba friends, nice to be here. Yes, I was really struck by the word wholeheartedly, and I have been pondering on it since Bob said that. And instead of knowing what it is necessarily, I know what it's not. It's not when I am multitasking. It's not when I am distracted. It's not when I'm not focused. So I think there's an element, it's not that I can make it happen, but there's an element of intention and attention. When I am attentive to being wholehearted and to keep that as kind of, I guess, a goal, really, that just seems like a wonderful connection to be wholeheartedly connected to Baba. So I'm again using the word connection. And for me to get in those spaces, I need to be calm. I have been in Al-Anon for 20 some years. And a lot of times people tell me, ask, how do I connect to my higher power? And I'll say, I've said this to you guys before, when I'm calm and quiet, my higher power is always here, which is true. Baba's always here. It's me that's giving the busy signal, you know, like, oh, I'm too busy. I've got these things to do. And so some of it is prioritizing time with Baba. And like others have said, you know, just the word wholeheartedly, I've heard of people picking a theme for the year or something, or a thought or a word. And it seemed to me, I've never been attracted to that until the word wholeheartedly came up. And I think it's just something for me to attend to set out as a goal, as a way to be wholehearted and connection. Baba told me clearly without words that one of the things I needed was connection with others and connection with him. And so connection's not valuable if it's not wholehearted. You know, I mean, there's loose connections, there's misconnections. So that's what comes up for me. And I'm really glad to be talking about it with others because it's certainly been in my mind since Bob brought it up. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I was even, if you think about connection, if you are sort of, off in other places, it's almost like also with the busy signal, it's like you're giving people and you're giving Baba that dial-up tone. You know what I mean? Like you got the internet running and he's trying to call on the phone and we're not quite getting it. And so being wholehearted it's really just having that openness all the time, whether it's, through having that little practice or whatever, but it's just giving your heart that opportunity to receive what Baba's trying to give you all the time. Because he's always trying to give us love. He's never giving us the busy signal. Okay, we have Vijay next.
Hi, Jai Baba. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Yeah. Jai Baba, everyone, and Happy New Year. I am Vijay from Pune. And this Sunday there was Guru Prasad, and every month we have meeting at Guru Prasad at Pune, Sundays, first Sunday. And my wife is very energetic. She feels she must go. I am sort of lazy. Oh, there's the traffic and to drive, and better is stay at home. Baba is everywhere. But then we went there, and after that, I was so happy, so happy. Oh, thank you, Baba. We came here. Yeah. Well, so to me, wholeheartedly means my perception is just living in the present, like not to just be there. It's like a childlike, not childish, childlike, and be natural. And it's an attitude towards doing everything, means anything. Like if someone is breaking the stone, you say, oh my God, damn this stone I'm breaking. And one might say, okay, this is my work. The third one might say, oh, I am earning. Oh, it's with a joy he's doing. So everyone has a different attitude. So to me, the wholeheartedness is to do things with the joy, with energy. And I feel this is Avataric period. The Lord has come down on earth. And since we have come into his contact, he has pulled us around him. And he has drawn towards him. So we should be happy and we should enjoy each and everything, whether it is suffering or pain, or we should try to enjoy everything. So that's my perception of wholeheartedness. And I try, even though I am not perfect, I'm kind of lazy sometimes, but I go for a walk every day. But in the beginning, I feel, oh, let's stay home. But when I take a walk, I enjoy, I take the energy around, and it's really joyful, remembering Baba. Oh, Baba, this is your world. See, let's enjoy this. So enjoying everything and doing with joy and full of energy. Really, those dogs, they really inspired me. They just live. They are so energetic. They are just there. So just being there. And I'm also trying to be doing things wholeheartedly, even though I am not able to, but I'm trying myself. And it's a really very good thing to do things wholeheartedly. Just be there and with joyful attitude. That I would like to share.
That's beautiful. And I think you've got it. You're onto something. Yeah, no, that's great. That's amazing. Jai Baba. Something that I found always works for doing things wholeheartedly is, like for me, a priority is like connection with people and making people feel like I'm invested in them, and that, creating that personal connection, and that somebody feels excited to see me because they feel that I'm excited to see them. And so what I found is even when I'm really tired, I don't want to do that, I do it anyway. And it's kind of like what Diane and Terry were saying, that it's what I find that if I do it, somehow I forget myself in it. Like at first it's like hard and I'm like tired. It's not really in my nature, but then because it's Baba, he kind of comes in and plays the role. And then it's almost like what you said, Paula, where you lose yourself in it. I think everybody has their different gift that they enjoy. But for me, it's connecting with people. And I find that all of a sudden when I feel like doing it the least and I do it anyway with the intention of just like, okay, Baba, I really want to do this for you, but I really need some help. He gets in there and kind of gets you out of the way. And then all of a sudden it's this joyful experience where something that was very hard to start, you don't even want to finish it because you're just in this flow state of him working through you. But yeah. Does anybody else want to venture out on wholeheartedness, like what that looks like in their life, or maybe where they've really succeeded in it?
Jai Baba, this is Prakash.
Oh, hi, Prakash.
Jai Baba, I saw you the other day at the center.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Well, I always used to wonder about this wholehearted thing. And and I always wondered, I think it has to do with, in my mind, with faith and having no reservations about what you do. In the sense, like when Baba says, don't worry, be happy. And when we believe in it, you just don't worry, as simple as that, because that's what he assured us and he told us. And so in the same way, like Bob says, the prayer that he does in the morning and in the evening, when you do the prayer, you have no notions that it's not going to work, and no other fancies and all that stuff, and no vagueness about it. You simply go about it and do it and know that it's going to happen. I entrust all that it did. Boom, it's gone. Baba has taken over. And it's all him now. So I think if you do it sincerely, the approach when you first started off should be all willful. And after that, the mind may come and play its tricks and all that stuff. I think it shouldn't matter, because at least you have started it with all your will, that I want to do this. And you, like you said, you'll be natural about it. And having done that, have that faith that what you do is simply going to do what it's supposed to do. Like what Baba said, it will do for you. And that faith is probably what is wholeheartedness for me. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Beautifully said. Thank you.
Yeah.
We've got Marion up next.
Hi. Thank you. It's a delight to hear everyone's process. What a kind of a motto I have is that I have to know who I am not in order to know who I am in this world of duality. So I've learned when I sink into who I am not, which is maybe a complaining, negative, low energy. Oh, aha. I don't pile judgments on that, because Baba has let me know that famous line of his, it lives in my heart, where he said, I am the only friend who will never let you down. So that means, boy, I can be the worst grump or complainer or anything, and this best friend is never going to leave me. And I know that. So I have that reassurance. So I'm trained professionally and I've helped other people with this, to know one's personality type, and that my training was in a program aligned very much with Baba's teachings of my core, my spirit is triad nature. Baba speaks about of knowledge, power, bliss. So in my program, we used wisdom, love, power. So it's the same thing. And so therefore, that I have one to the fore, one of those personalities to the fore. So mine is very emotional. I'm very loving and heart giving and all that. However, when I fall off the wagon, I get very nice, but inwardly demanding and complaining. And so and I try to keep that hidden. So when that comes up and I can feel it, or I'm sad or unhappy or angry or whatever, from what I know about me, and it's the grace that Baba gave of leading me to these processes of how to release that from the subtle body, from the energy field. And so I'm trained in that. So I know that I need to release it, because the only way it transforms is coming out. And everybody's different. Everybody's not the same dominant one that I am. And so I have I have to get it out of my body, out of my muscles, out of my nerves. So I have Baba's picture there by the side of my bed. And then I go in and I tell Baba, I found myself complaining again. Or I'm hating something or somebody, or I'm angry about whatever. And so I'm going to release that now out of my energy field, so that I may be filled with your light, love, and life. I call it the 3 L's, light, love, and life. And then I say I got triggered by something or someone. No one ever causes that. So my conceptual understanding grounds me in my energy release. And I know that. So I then do a little psychodrama and set it up and get my hitting bat out. And I go to it with everything I want to do to get back at everybody I'm judging and all that kind of stuff. So, but my intention is to release what has been there for lifetimes, so I may be filled with Baba's light, love, and light. So after I do that, I vibrate, I ground it, and I smiling and light and happy. But I have to notice when I go off the wagon and in that darkness. And I'm grateful for all the tools I have, such as that one. I have many others. Some are like what Baba said, the most direct connection of the divine is nature and the arts. So I'm in New York near Central Park. Central Park is, I feel like if I could sleep there overnight, I would. I feel at home with the birds and squirrels, all of my those lifetimes, birds and squirrels and toddlers and all that. I could be in the lowest pit and I go in there and I'm not trying to be happy. I have my several trees that I wrap my arms around, send down any kind of upset down into Mother Earth for her to transform this and bring up that divine energy and the Father Sky energy in those trees. And so that's just a little bit. I share a lot of what others do, the certain prayers and all, but that's it. It's like being in nature. I might get out a pad of paper and do some scribbling and take my pencil and stab the paper. I may do anything, but it's for me, I have to consciously release it from my energy field in a way that is for me, not for everyone. Does it my way, but that's my way.
I love that. Yeah. I think that sometimes with Baba, we can get really judgmental of where we're supposed to be, because he lays it out so perfectly. Oh, just don't worry, be happy. Isn't that easy? And so I like hearing the ways that people do things on, like, a physical plane to sort of get to that. Don't worry, be happy.
To get to surrender, I have to feel tied up first before I can release it and then really surrender. So I use the word contrast a lot. The contrast is so important for me to notice when I'm off the wagon and on the wagon, and then have all my little toolbox things that I pull from to get back on that wagon, which everybody helps me get back on. I always see a horse-drawn hay wagon that I used to go on as a teenager, those hay rides. And I slide off at times, but then I run after the wagon and everybody helps me get back up there and hugs me. So that's it. That's my metaphor.
Wow, I love that. I had a Baba lover tell me one time, she said to me, Baba's an interstate. And we get off the interstate and we don't always realize that we're off the interstate. But as soon as you realize, you get back on.
Right.
And the problem is, people get off the exit, they look at the town, it's kind of pretty. Oh, let me drive to the next town. Then you get farther and farther and farther away. All you got to do is get back on that interstate. And it's a 1-track stop home. But we have Paula next.
Well, this is kind of a funny story that happened yesterday. So I have a friend and we don't get to spend, we're good friends. We don't get to spend very much time together. And so sometimes on Wednesday, some time opens up. It's kind of carved out, and she's 6 miles away from me, and I'll go down and I'll take lunch. And so, and I consciously, it was really kind of interesting because I'm making this salad and I'm just really kind of feeling all this love going into this salad, right? Okay. So I get down there, and her son lives we live in the country, but her son lives across the road from her. And he's a very loud kind of person. I really love him, but he's just really loud. And he's a big man. And so he's down at the bottom of the driveway, and it's like, oh no, he's coming up the driveway, isn't he? I thought, oh geez, he didn't waste any time. So and he's yelling at me, and I ignore him. It's like, I'm carrying a heavy bag. I'm not gonna encourage this. But anyway, he comes all the way up and into the house. And then the neighbor lady comes over too. She's German, and he's helping her pack all her stuff up and move and stuff. And I had decided I kind of didn't like her. I just kind of did. So anyway, so this is happening. And I was just kind of, And I said, I don't know if there's enough food here. And she was all upset about some stuff, that her phone didn't work and all these kinds of things happened. As it turned out, I'm sitting there and, and it's like, in spite of me, it didn't matter if I'm wholehearted or if I'm anything. Baba got his work done through it. It's like by the end of it, it was like, yeah, I really she wanted a hug from me. And it was like, things settled down, and it turned out to be a really nice lunch. There was plenty of food for everybody. And then by the end of it, then I did have some time with my friend. We had some time together that we don't get too much of. And it all worked out. But I was like, I was kind of miffed. But Baba did it, and it was just kind of, I thought it's just a funny story to me. It's like, I don't know what to make of it. Except Baba did what he wanted done in spite of me. It got worked out. Everybody got calmed down that needed to get calmed down, including me eventually. And it was and love happened, so yeah.
Yeah,
whether we help him or not.
He'll get his work done against our will. Or he'll exploit our wholeheartedness. Like you wholeheartedly poured yourself into the salad. You were so excited. And he said, oh, this is really good. I've got her now. She put her whole heart into it.
I know. And everybody gets to eat it.
Yeah. All right.
Oh, it was silly.
All right. Looks like we got Tony next.
Hi. I felt like I wanted to share, but I'm sitting here thinking, I really don't understand what we're talking about. It's, I guess I've never had an issue about wholeheartedness per se. So although the word wholehearted is really key in my relationship with Baba, but in a very different sense. There's a quote that I've mentioned often on these chats in the discourses. I think it's about reincarnation and karma, but if you take it in the broader context, Baba says any action that does not have the wholehearted support of one's innermost being is quick in inviting its opposite, and karma. And the thing is, I got from that is when you act, when you make decisions, whatever you're doing, just keep checking in that it has the wholehearted support of your innermost being. Otherwise, it's going to take you where you don't want to go, because your innermost being knows where you want to go. There seems to be an equating of wholeheartedness with happiness or cheerfulness or enthusiasm or equipoise, which are all things Baba does talk about. But to me, I think it's wholeheartedness comes. I'm very wary of anything that would that would say, oh, I'm not being wholehearted and I should be wholehearted. Because when you're not feeling into something, when your heart isn't in it, I think the thing one needs to do is check in and find out why. Say, what is it that's bothering me? What feels inauthentic in this, or what is not meeting my needs, my genuine needs in this? The idea of to try to always want to, like Baba says, don't worry, be happy, but it's not be silly, not be always, you know, the don't worry part is really important to the be happy part. He's saying, if you stop worrying, I mean, there's one way of hearing that is, if you can stop worrying, you will be happy. You will. Happiness is your natural state. And enthusiasm. I made some notes because I don't know what I'm talking about. If you're not wholehearted, you need to ask why. There may be a very good reason. Another way to look at it is not to be half-hearted. You know, if you can't think of how to be wholehearted, you can think of, don't be half-hearted about what you're doing. And it kind of puts it in a different perspective. But trust it. If your heart isn't in it, trust it and adjust. Something in the situation maybe is not feeling right. Something about your motive going into the situation is not feeling right. Your inner being knows, while your ego surface self has got all these great ideas and, oh, this is a wonderful thing to do and this is helpful. So to trust that, I try very much, and that helps develop your intuition. The more you tune into your innermost being, Course in Miracles has a great measure for that. Before you make any decision, check in, picture the decision you want to make, and if your innermost being is at peace, if you feel a sense of peace with that, go for it, because that's your innermost being saying yes. If you're agitated, good agitated or bad agitated, doesn't really matter. Back up and listen to what's the still silent part wants. So let me just see, hold on. Oh, love your innermost being and you'll be wholehearted because you'll be in tune with your own deepest promptings. Listening to it. Oh, yeah, it seems to me that when I am not wholehearted, I don't need to do it because Baba asked me to do it. It's like, if I'm not wholehearted, I'm not living. I mean, only if your heart is fully in your life are you living. Otherwise, you're just kind of walking through it. And we have a limited amount of time here, especially when you get older. You know, you realize there's a certain amount of time. Live it, live every moment. And the only way to do that is to put your whole heart into it. And I'm thinking about what my mother used to say when I was little, not little, but when I was learning the guitar and writing songs and stuff. And her only comment was, put your heart into it, put your whole heart, sing it with feeling. And Baba says to get the balance between the mind and the heart, because mind is always so much quicker, requires a constant acceleration of feelings, of love, of not emotion is different, but of feeling, and to trust emotions, because again, if you've got an uncomfortable emotion, it's telling you something is not meeting your values or your needs in the situation. And if you have a happy emotion or a joyous, it's saying this is really good for you. What's going on here, you know? And that's got to be, of course, that the inner being agrees with that, and it's not a surface thing. So anyway, so that's how I feel about wholeheartedness. And I hope I was wholehearted in expressing it.
Yeah, wow. No, that was really beautiful. That was some of the things you said were kind of, like you said, you know, we can get kind of, oh, how do I be cheerful? How do I be happy? But you really simplified it. So thank you for sharing that. Looks like we have Gail up next.
I was thinking back to what Margi said about process, and I've shared this with some other people, but not everyone here and not in this context. I remember several years ago, I took care of my dad for the last 3 years of his life. And one of the things that I did consistently, never missing it, I went to Mayhair Center every 3 weeks for 3 days. I took a 3-day weekend. So I was there summer, winter, spring, fall, and I tell you, it's beautiful to see the guest house in the snow. So that certainly kept me on track, you know, and it's clear that I can go to the Samadhi, or I can go to Myrtle Beach sitting right here tonight. You know, I don't have to physically, I mean, I can, you know, so I can be there while I'm physically not there. Another thing that has helped me in terms of a process, there came a time when being 5 hours away, I'm about 5 hours away from the Mayher Center, and there came a time in about May, before my dad died in July, that being 5 hours away was too far. I could, you know, so I took a transcendental meditation course. And one of the things that I adapted from that is I learned to relax. And my process is very clear. Think about butter that is frozen in the fridge. You could tap it on the counter and you could actually hear frozen butter. And then there is butter that's pulled straight out of the fridge, and you could tap that too. And then there's butter that is been sitting out for an hour or so to make cookies or a cake or whatever, so that it's, you know, it's room temperature. And then there's ghee. And ghee is the melted butter when there's no solids in there. And I visualize that I am ghee. I stretch, when I meditate, I stretch out on the bed. You know, people can sit where the hell they want to, in a chair, on the floor, do the yoga poses, whatever. But I just stretch out and I go to ghee. And it's when I'm there that Baba's right there. And it's only with Baba that I'm wholehearted. I mean, and it's by his grace. So when I'm close to Baba, so I do have that process. I was telling that to my Chapel Hill group, and John Gunn, I was telling him I also have a driving repetition, a jap, when I'm driving, and I go Baba, 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 Baba. And it's a quick jap, but it's the opposite. You don't want to go to sleep on the interstate. You don't want to be ghee there. So I have kind of two gears, where I used to travel about 45 minutes to a certain job from where I was to another part of the area. And I would connect at that time just through a jap. So those are some processes that I have, because again, it's being close to Baba is where wholeheartedness is. It's making sure that I'm with Baba, that I have to make sure that I, you know, because otherwise I could be listening to the radio and be up to date on all the news, or, you know, sometimes I sing, I mean, in the car, you know, so I know that singing takes me closer to Baba. And again, closer to Baba is wholehearted. Jai Baba.
Yeah. Jai Baba. Thank you, Gail. That's so beautiful. Looks like we have Helen up next.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
This is my first Zoom ever. I just
Welcome.
finally got a new computer and I can Zoom. I was talking to Betty about it. Anyway, Betty's like, you need to do it. And so it's fun, having a good time. My old computer couldn't do it. But I have there's been a couple of ways that are forcing me to be wholehearted lately. which I don't know, maybe I kind of need something to stay on track, you know? And they're very, very different things. And one of them's a little strange and the other one's just totally joyful. But I'll start with the strange one, which is that my son and I run an Airbnb. It's the house that I built 35 years ago. And I raised my kids there. And both my sons are contractors. So during the pandemic, my middle son and I, we rebuilt the whole thing. It was just a mess. It had been a rental for a while because I didn't live there anymore. But so, yeah, we sort of redid it from the bottom up, and people have been staying there. It's been really a wonderful experience, but it's haunted. Their guests have seen a ghost there. I feel a ghost there. My son does. It's very uncomfortable at night. And I've never had any experience with a ghost before, but it's unmistakable. And so the wholeheartedness comes in when at first I was creeped out. And then I'm like, I need to talk to this person. I need to tell them to go to Baba. Like, Baba's I know you're restless. It must be terrible. You're in limbo. You need to move on. Take Baba's name. Find Baba. I think, I don't know how exactly to tell this ghost to find Baba, but lately I've been talking very sternly to them, very firm. And like, I do smudging and I take Baba's name and and it's not scary per se. It's just, you just feel bad for this restless spirit who just can't see. And we're the only people that have ever lived in this house. So I just don't know who it is. But it's really making me very wholehearted because I know that that's the only way for this soul to free itself, to find peace. And I want that. Both selfishly, I would like this weirdness out of there, and I would like for this soul to find Baba. And it's been a really cool experience because it's like reaffirmed my belief that is exactly what this soul needs. And I know that. And I just hope that it happens for this soul. Anyway, and the second thing that's kept me really wholehearted is my grandson that I watch almost every day, and he's almost 2. And when he was born, I said, I got to hold him like within seconds after he was born. And I said Baba's name, Meher Baba, right in his ear. His parents aren't Baba lovers, but he really loves Baba. It's really cool. He'll see a picture of Baba and he'll just kiss it. He'll just kiss Baba. And anyway, we were in the woods today, and I don't know how many of you guys get to be around 2-year-olds, but they're so magically in the moment. And it's a wholehearted experience being with this little soul, not knowing where he's going to go, what he's going to do in his life. And I probably won't get to see him as an adult, because I'm pushing 70. So, but I just, it's a really cool walk with Baba. And that joy, when you feel that joy, I feel like that's a wholehearted experience of Baba. So I have these 2 very opposite wholehearted things that are happening with me right now, and my journey with Baba. So this has been fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. Those are 2. I like the kind of the juxtaposition of both of them, because you're being kind of like Tony said, you can't be this cheerful, happy. Of course, when you're with your grandson, it's like, oh, I love watching my grandson just expand and be all these things. And then you're also having to be wholehearted in an uncomfortable scenario.
Yeah, if anybody has any advice for me, I'm really happy to take it.
Maybe somebody put their hand up for you.
Yeah. Actually, Helen, let me give me a phone number. I'm a friend of Betty's too. 919.
Oh, wait. I gotta, hold on. I have to write it down. Just a minute. We think it's Native American based because that's the only people that have ever lived on this little hill right by the ocean. Okay, I'm ready.
919.
Yep.
818-3335. And I'm Gail. Not a 4-letter word, Gayle. And let's talk maybe tomorrow. It's pushing 11 here. I'm on the East Coast.
Okay.
But we'll connect. We'll text and then talk. I mean, figure out how to, what's a good time. But I have some ideas.
I'd love that. I'm a friend of Vesta's too. Vesta's. I feel like I talk to her or we text just about every day, even if it's just a picture of Baba. So I didn't know that about her getting that PTSD, and I can't wait to talk to her about it. I feel like that's going to be really, really cool for her to have that validated and everything. So I'm glad whoever shared that. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, like and Gail, I will talk to you. I will call you. Okay.
Looks like we have Vijay up next.
Hi, I have a question. See, certain things we like and certain things we dislike. The things we like, we can put wholeheartedness. But which we dislike, then how to do it means, I'm just want to know your means. So how, because Baba wants us to do everything wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an answer, but I think, when we do those things that are easy, it gives us the framework of how to do the hard things. We know how it feels when we lose ourselves to things we enjoy, whether it's talking to people or art or, whatever. And then we can translate that over to those less enjoyable things. And I always try to get back to the feeling. I might not try to do a certain thing a certain way if I'm not enjoying it. I mean, if I was putting it in front of me, it's obviously what he wants. And so in that, I try to connect to the feeling of joy rather than the experience of it. Like what does that feel like when I'm doing something with joy? I might not actually be filled with joy, but what is that feeling, and how can I have the background of joy, and how can I give it over to Baba? And kind of what Diane and Terry said earlier too, if you take Baba's name while you're doing something, it really just paints it in this beautiful color of love, even if it's not something you want to do. But I find that, we just, I'm living with Vanessa and Laurent right now. And then also Ryan's in town, who's the older brother. And then we got 2 younger brothers. And so it's all of us. And we just moved. And it's been a super, super, super stressful, chaotic, post New Year's, post holidays kind of thing, moving. And it's been super stressful and super triggering for me. But I've been able to get through it and do it wholeheartedly because I've been able to just say, Baba, 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 because you just do it. And then all of a sudden, Baba kind of does it for you. If he takes a little too long, I will say that. I wish he responded a little more quickly, but, or maybe I just can't feel it. But yeah, just doing the hard things with the intention of doing them for Baba paints them in a much lighter light. I hope that helps.
There is something like detached karma. Ram's wife Sita's father, Raja Janak. So he was a kind of detached person. He was a king though, but he was happy with the king and he was happy as a beggar also. So that kind of attitude means it's kind of tough to maintain that poise. Just doing your things detached way. I don't know. I just brought this topic here.
Yeah. No, I think I think also, being wholehearted is because Baba tells us to do it. It's our duty. So, when something's your duty, you kind of do it with a little bit more heart, because it gives you this sense of like, oh, this is what Baba's holding up his end of the bargain. Let me hold up mine, But
like taking Baba's name. taking Baba's name is the most important thing. And then of course, not possible all the time. All the time you forget. So yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vijay. Jay Baba. Looks like we have Tony up next.
Yeah, I was just when what Helen was saying about the ghost reminded me of something. And in fact, it occurs to me now, we moved into this house 24 years ago today. And it was Zeke and Elena and me and my daughter Clara. And it was formerly owned by a rabbi who was much loved and respected in the community, apparently. He had long passed on, and he lived here with his wife and his 3 children, who had then moved to different parts of the country. But we got ourselves settled in. And one day we were all just sitting around, and particularly, I think I was here. I know my daughter heard this very clearly. We heard someone say, "Hello." And then he said again, "Hello." And he was like welcoming us to the house. We did smudge and stuff after that, but he was a welcome. He was Casper. He was a friendly ghost. On the other hand, I've had dreams, mostly here, the ones I'm thinking of. One where I'm in, it's sort of an astral state, and there's someone he's kind of wild and he's frenetic, and I go over to him and I'm trying to like calm him down to help him, and I suddenly feel something grab me right here, like where the liver is. And I immediately, which is a good way of responding to entities, I immediately said, "Baba, Baba, 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 Baba," and Baba went, "Shoo!" and he lifted me out of it. When my brother passed, there was a period where I felt he had a troubled life, and he was a troubled personality. And we had a troubled relationship towards the end. And when he died, I felt him a number of times, and he was very large and very heavy. And I felt his very heavy presence in the room, and it was constantly, "Go to Baba, go to Baba. You're not supposed to be here. Jai Baba." I'd say the prayers, but they can't tolerate that much pure Baba energy, especially Baba's Pravartigar and repentance prayers. But so yeah, it is a real thing. It happens sometimes. Yeah. Jai Baba, that's all. It's nothing about it's a digression, not about enthusiasm or wholeheartedness.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, looks like we have Paula up next.
Something that Baba said that helps me, that I work on, that I it's something to aspire to and to strive for, is he said, when you relate to other people, relate to me in them. And that's like all the time. It's like being in the store or being, that's what I want. I want that, like the Brother Lawrence book, I want that constant conversation with Baba, just constantly just being with him. I'm not saying I have that. I want to have that. It's something I aspire to. And he always says just to remember him. And then we don't have to say his name out loud. He said, in some places he says, don't say it out loud. Say it constantly inside yourself. So I think that is kind of the touchstone. Remembering Baba, saying his name, wanting to always be with him, and trying to find him in other people and in everything. It's easy in nature, but sometimes it's harder in other people. But that he's there, and that when we're relating to each other or anybody, we're relating to Baba within them. One thing I did it was easier when I was younger, but my husband passed away. But when we were in our marriage, what I used to do was when I would put my head on his chest and feel his heartbeat, I knew that was Baba's heart beating. And that's where Baba is. He's everywhere. And I think that's the thing, is it's like just trying to look for him everywhere and find him everywhere and keep our focus and consciousness on him. And it's a life's work to try to do that, you know. And I think he says, don't try, just do it. Somewhere. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. Thank you, Paula. That's so beautiful. And it's true. If you look, Baba really, he gives us a lot of clues. You know, we make it a lot harder than it needs to be. Doesn't mean that it's not hard, because I don't want to ever say that, because I feel like it's really hard. But he leaves us a lot of clues in all those places if we just, you know, listen. All right. Looks like we've got Helen.
I just wanted to follow up on what Paula said. Just quickly, in the blue book, towards the end of the blue bus book, I'm sorry, that big wonderful book about the blue bus tours, Mani is quoted as talking about how hard it was for everyone to get along. You know, they actually, she said, you know, we were not really that excited about being with each other some days. You know, it was really hard, and it was we fought, and it was hard. But she said that maybe Baba gave her this image, or she came up with it. I can't remember, but it just struck such a chord. And it's like what Paula said, was that you just imagine an umbrella, and you don't connect with people down at the bottom between the spokes. You go up to the hub, which is Baba, and connect back to each other. So you always go up to Baba, and that's your connection with people, not just person to person, but Baba to person, Baba to person. And I really used that and needed it in my life since I read that. And it's my friend Mary Ann, who passed away recently. We read that book together, and that part of it it really stuck with me. And it's just like what Paula was talking about, you know, meeting the Baba in people, or, you know, having Baba always in between you and the other person. So, yeah, thanks.
Thank you. I love that imagery. All right, looks like we have Bob up next.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you all. This has been so useful because one of the things it showed me is that this wholeheartedness business has so many different aspects, so many different ways of approaching it, and so many different ways of feeling it. And it isn't always a pleasant thing. And it's easy for me to forget that, you know, that what I found myself thinking about is dealing after my wife passed away, dealing with my feelings of uselessness. Baba, what am I for now? What do you, it was pretty awful for a while. And about 6 months ago, 4 months ago, I was out doing some work in the yard. I've got this huge pine tree. The thing is just immense. It's probably been here from before any of the houses were built. It's got to be at least 100 years old. And I saw people stop and look at that tree all the time. I've met more people just through that pine tree. So there's a guy standing on the sidewalk looking at that pine tree. And I walked up to him and said, hello. And things sort of progressed. I mean, this was Baba's thing. Oh, you want a way to be useful? I didn't realize it at the time. This fellow is a disabled veteran who moved out here from Florida because he had a couple of seizures and he has aphasia, so he can't communicate very well. He's got a couple of sons that live here in Englewood, Colorado. And he's renting one bedroom in a house about 10 blocks from me. It's not the best situation, but at least he has a place. And trying to get hooked up with the VA here in Colorado, and I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's just completely ridiculous. But I was able to I was able to help him. I was able to take him shopping, and I like him and he likes me. And there was some connection there. And I found that, you know, if he took his time and he spoke slowly and I took the time to listen, I could understand him and I could intuit what he was saying. And he's younger than me, but we still know a lot of the same music. I mean, he'll say, oh yeah, you got to take it just yiddle by yiddle, you know, just yiddle by yiddle. I said, yeah, right. And then he'll sing a song and I say, oh yeah, I recognize that. So this connection has really happened. But it's also very hard because his family situation is very difficult and his renting situation is very difficult. The landlord is maybe taking advantage. But so I find myself trying to be as helpful as possible, but I cannot get involved with his family situation. And my heart says, you cannot do that. And oh, Baba, look, there has to be a boundary here. I can't do that. You know, I can't fix that. And you know, I decide to help him with something and the mind starts worrying about results. Oh, what will happen now? You know, and it's like, Baba, look, this is crazy. I'm trying to do the best that I can with this particular situation. I cannot worry about results, please. And in spite of my stupid mind worrying about results, the next day, Baba solves it by making it better, you know, by either putting things off a day or changing a time or changing the situation just enough that what I can do is helpful rather than crazy making. It's like, okay, Baba, if I could just do this all the time, you know, I trust you. And if I could trust you and have faith wholeheartedly, I wouldn't worry at all. I wouldn't even think about results. But that's impossible. But I keep learning again and again and again and again. And that's a heart thing. It's part of learning wholeheartedness. So thank you all. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba. I think that unless anybody has anything else that they'd love to share, I'd love to close with what Bob just said, because it was so beautifully put. I think you highlighted a really important thing, that when you live wholeheartedly, it's not always, you know, the heart has a lot of pain and it has a lot of love. And so living wholeheartedly, you have to accept the whole picture of that and accept all the facets of what that includes.
Yeah, and so many people brought that out. I mean, it's just, you know, trust, connection, being open, living in the present, the gladness, the faith, the frustrations. I mean, I was writing things down as people said them, and they all fit. They're just, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, wow. Well, Bob, I'm so glad that you came up with this topic. Well, I think that'll probably be it for tonight. I guess let's all close with a moment of silence, and then we'll do an avatar, Mayor Baba Ki Jai. Avatar, Meher Baba.
Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Meher Baba.
Baba Ki Jai.